Okay, this is Critical Discussions, episode 25. We've got a lot to cover because the August of 2023 has been quite a prolific for quite important events month. And so, yeah, let's just jump right into it and let's talk basically. Let's go through the whole chronology of the events that happened basically, or like most important events that happened in August. And what we're going to talk in this episode are the drone attacks that Ukrainian side is doing now more often on Russia, on Moscow, and on military objects in Russia in general. We're going to be talking about death of uh, private terrorist group Wagner, Prigozhin, of the head of this group Prigozhin, of his death. We're going to be talking about the economy in Russia, what's going on with their currency, why it's happening, and what we can expect in the future. We're going to be talking about Elon Musk, because apparently he cannot go even 1 month without being absolute fucking brain dead, awful person, moron, and whatnot. And of course, Russian war crimes that continue, Russian strikes on territory of Ukraine, on Ukrainian cities. And we're just going to talk about a few other little things, such as, for example, airplanes F-16, air jets, I guess, F-16s that a few countries decided to agree to finally sort of give to Ukraine. And let's just jump right into it, and let's just start chronologically, sort of from the beginning of August. So, the end of July, the beginning of August was the time when we've got sort of first drone strikes in Moscow City. And Moscow City is like this region in Moscow with like this high-rise buildings, basically like your sort of business district, right? Like your downtown sort of a scenario. And it's interesting that it was happening, and it was happening several times, twice. The Those attacks were carried on a basically on specific building. I think even targeting almost like specific sort of floor of a building, and it was just drones sort of missing. It really seemed like this is like really deliberate attack on like particular building, and a particular, even like I'm saying, particular sets of floors. So the presumption is that maybe these floors are occupied by some sort of like a Russian um, army contractor or something like that. I'm still not sure what exactly was there, why exactly it got there, but the fact of the matter is that the so-called Russian famous sort of air defense systems, they like they don't work apparently, because they basically were never able to sort of protect, so to speak, Russian citizens from these attacks. And as you can see from this video, or if you're listening, maybe you can hear. Okay, well, these are pretty big explosions. So it's not like just like a little tiny drone. So it's not like a drone that were whatever, like a DJI sort of a type of scenario that would have been launched like, I don't know, 20 kilometers away or like 10 kilometers away. These are drones that flew for like hundreds of kilometers, and basically not a single sort of air defense was able to basically intercept them. And I think it's a good thing, because so far I'm pretty sure that there were no deaths from those drone attacks, from like just generally sort of air attacks. Because when you say drone, you kind of feel basically that we're talking about those like quadcopters, like I'm saying, like a DJI kind of a scenario. But these are basically small, like tiny planes, basically with like one engine, couple wings, and with quite a lot of, or like decent amount anyway, of the explosives inside. So that's kind of a drone, like flying like controlled missile, I guess. And let's just call them drone for the sake of this particular episode and for this particular discussion. But just saying, like drone, not in the terms of like DJI quadcopter drone, although they're also present, but like more on a battlefield for like dropping like grenades on like some fucking Russian occupants in like trenches, or like on some BMP, or like or wherever, like some armored personnel carriers, things like that. However, like I'm saying, for this particular discussion, we're gonna call them all one thing, drone. And so yeah, this has started, like I'm saying, in August, and it seemed like it's just sort of tests, like how far can we go, like in terms of like Ukrainian side, how far can we go with our drones. Will somebody intercept us? Let's like sort of discover the positions of air defense, if they will intercept at certain points these drones. And as we will learn later, that escalated basically. It was escalating throughout the whole August, and it actually went to quite sort of big drone strikes that happened basically about like a day or two ago, as of this recording. And I'm recording this on the 31st of August 2023. And yeah, basically the night of 30th of August, the airport in Pskov, for example, was attacked, and this airfield is basically used by Russian military. Apparently, Russia admitted that at least four airplanes, Il-76, were damaged. But when Russia says that it was damaged, it means that it was most likely destroyed. Because when they say nothing happened, we kind of get often sort of confirmations of like literally like a plane sitting there on fire on the runway, and they like the Russians like officials just simply deny all of that. So when Russians says it didn't happen, it did happen. When they say that something was damaged, it means that it was destroyed. And if they admit to certain amount was destroyed, it means that probably like 3 times more was destroyed. That's just the math. I'm just telling you, like sort of, if you're sort of considering like, or like reading some news about Russia, or like especially if you get to some like official statements, or if you get to like propagandist statements, that's just the math that you should do sort of in your head mentally. Um, so yeah, basically, sort of, I think I've seen the map somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't think I've got it prepared for now. Basically, there were about. Oh, maybe I do have the map. Give me a second. I think there was a map showing basically around like 20 different targets that were hit on 30th of August. Um, in different sort of places in Pskov, like I said, in Moscow, in some other places as well. And just so we're clear, like let me show you Pskov on the map, and it's right here. It's really close to Estonia and Latvia, and it's quite far away from Moscow. And like the closest sort of place, basically where like how the planes would fly, it's like whatever, like somewhere from like Chernigiv maybe, from like Kharkiv region maybe. I'm not sure if they would have crossed the territory of Belarus. Maybe not. However, I think like one sort of Russian, basically anti-Putin sort of military formation, I think you could say, or like diversion sort of a group, they sort of claim that this is like they've done it, at least like in Pskov. They sort of launched these particular drones from the territory of Russia, which is interesting. So it means that not only like the airspace is completely unprotected, basically, but it means that sort of the border, I guess, is also unprotected, or just like the FSB, sort of their FBI kind of a thing. They also, or like, or more like, um, yeah, more like, what's the other one? FBI. What's the other one? C. Oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Anyway, meaning basically like the Russians' internal sort of special forces or police or whoever should be sort of keep an eye on like people with drones and freaking explosives. They don't do anything basically. If it was indeed launched from the territory of Russia, which I'm not sure really, because people are saying what they wanna kind of what they wanna say in a sense. How they want to portray their own sort of organization, because Ukrainians are claiming that it was them sort of well, not claiming, but sort of saying that it was a special operation just targeting sort of Russian military infrastructure, and which is really important, no civilians actually were injured in this attack. And yeah, it's really been done like really cleanly, in terms of like literally, um, whoever did these attacks, um, they did it in a really clean fashion. First of all, they're attacking at night to minimize the risk of damage to people, basically, right? Unlike Russia, because Russia, and we will talk about it later, strikes literally like civilians objects in like the centers of cities during like weekends and during daytime, to basically maximize the amount of murders that they can accomplish with like one or two missiles, essentially, because Russians are using absolute terrorist tactics, just trying to basically scare the population of Ukraine, and like force them to surrender, essentially. And because Ukraine doesn't have enough of anti like air defense, basically anti missiles, basically, systems and air defense systems, because apparently fucking Europe and America still cannot fucking offer them or give them enough of these systems that actually protect lives of innocent people, of just regular civilians, which is fucking pisses me off. Um, but yeah, but unlike these terrorist Russians, Ukrainians are literally targeting only like military infrastructure, like the factories that produce some chips for missiles. They're targeting like aerodromes, airports, airfields, especially those with not just like regular airports with like civilian aircraft. No, the airports, like airfields that are used by Ministry of Offense in Russia. Ministry of Defense is called, but I can't call it Ministry of Defense if it's like literally the fucking side who's trying to kill and destroy as much of Ukraine as possible. So yeah, um, it's really interesting, and like I'm saying, it's really clinical. The fires are pretty severe. If you're watching like a video version, you'll see this. And I'm gonna obviously include like all the various links in the description that I will find.
Охренеть.
And you can definitely hear like explosions. You can see fires and everything. So yeah, but once again, no injured civilians, and I don't think even no like injured even military personnel. It's just like destroyed planes and damaged sort of buildings of yeah, basically factory that produces chips for missiles and for I think for missiles. So yeah, it's really brilliant that Ukraine is doing it so clinically and so like carefully. I mean, like it's not something new. We've seen it before how Russia is doing things of that nature, strikes and so on and so forth, and how Ukraine is doing it. Even with like Kerch Bridge, like they're using these like drones, like on the water sort of drones, basically, like sort of this like water scooters kind of things. And not really, they don't look like that. They look like little boats basically, with explosives to destroy like basically Crimean bridge right through Kherson Strait, or like damage it, not destroy it, damage it, or to target Russian ships, actually, like the military ships. And on military ships, maybe there are some casualties or maybe even deaths. I don't remember really, um, but they're just targeting to like sort of destroy the ship itself, basically, or damage it to the point that it cannot operate at least for some period of time. And obviously, the cost of that drone versus the cost of the giant ship is like absolutely incomparable. Like the drone costs nothing essentially to make, while the ships are, you know, hundreds of, probably of millions of dollars, at least, definitely, dozens and dozens of. And yeah, like the just it's just such a brilliant sort of display of ingenuity, of the precision, and of um, ethical and moral quality of Ukrainians, just how they, because they have all the right to, especially since like those little, not little, they're not particularly little, those drones, both water and air drones, but those drones are made by Ukraine, so they don't have to essentially respond to anyone how they use it, right? Because you have like the the sort of ammunition that the West supplies to Ukraine always comes with lots of caveats. Basically, you know, you can't like target the territory of Russia, blah blah blah. So Ukrainians are creating their own equipment that they can actually use on to strike, obviously, on the territory of Russia. Because how else will you stop the war if you don't destroy the if you don't destroy the factories that produce the weapons, essentially, right? Or if you don't destroy the planes themselves and so on and so forth, right? And obviously Russians are not like total idiots. They don't stack all of those things in the like occupied territories, right? Like most of it, or like not most, but a lot of it, right, is stationed in the territory of on the territory of Russia. So you need some weapons to get there, right? And so Ukrainians are doing it themselves, essentially. And so yeah, basically, it started with just like a few small drones that targeted Moscow city. There's like business district in Moscow, and it escalated to the point of, yeah, of this, and of like mass attack, I guess. And they actually even showed like a little video some time ago, sort of warning Russian on like 24th of August, which was the Independence Day in Ukraine, that they're gonna send like a mass basically attack, which they didn't do on that date because, like, you know, it's games, basically, have mind games that they're playing with Russians. And so yeah, now they've done it like a week later, essentially. I'm pretty sure like that there will be some retaliation from Russia, just in terms of striking even more civilian. And I think it's been already happening today, that there was a lot of strikes on Ukrainian cities, because this is how Russians respond. They're just like bomb the civilians, essentially, just civilian infrastructure, so on and so forth, or at least try. So yeah, okay, this is the first news, and we're already like freaking almost 20 minutes in. But it was, well, like one of the most important one, and it's gonna be one of the most important thing that Ukrainians are doing, in terms of like actual impact. Because first of all, now the war has come on the territory of Russia, finally, and now more and more Russians are seeing that, well, their own territory is not safe anymore. And some of them might sort of like might become kind of for the lack of a better word, just like mad, basically, at Ukrainians that they're doing that. However, some might start thinking about Putin and his mafia, and like, because for the longest time the contract between the public and Putin was, okay, like, we don't go into politics. We don't touch you. You steal however much you want to steal. Sometimes you even like jail your opposition or whatever, or even kill them. But at least we feel safe, because you deal like with, like crime more or less, with this and that, and with like some like terrorists, whatever, like from, I don't know, like Chechnya or Dagestan or whatever, something like that. And then yeah, and we feel kind of more or less safe. But now, more and more people, I think, might start questioning. So, what exactly do all these cunts do if they can't intercept all these like drones and whatever? Like, if we see these explosions in our city, yes, they are targeting military infrastructure. They're doing it really effectively, without and efficiently, without killing or even injuring any of us, for the most part anyway. However, it's happening, so more people might start think, and might start asking actual questions. And that's really positive. I think it's really good, because the more people will start asking, like, okay, like, they're not that great, so maybe, like, maybe we should actually sometime, try to do what Prigozhin was trying to do, only that time, only next time, yeah, kind of go all the way, because as we will discuss, obviously, that was the mistake of Prigozhin. Anyway, so yeah, drones, drone strikes, on territory of Russia, precise drone strikes, precisely on the military objects, are happening more and more often. And truthfully, I'm all for it, because once again, like I'm saying, the civilians, for the most part, are not getting injured, not getting killed, and yeah, Ukraine is accomplishing their goals in terms of like military goals, which is amazing. All right, so there was that. Now then, just a quick one. I think, I'm not sure if I talked about it before. Putin signed into a law, essentially, the raise of the conscription age. Um, Surprise, surprise, Putin and his mafia, all of his fucking, all the cunts who are sitting in parliament, wherever, they all lied once again to Russian public, who is so fucking gullible, it's insane. Because, like, earlier, well, first of all, to begin with, the current law sort of, conscripts, people from 18 to 27, um, unless you have some medical conditions, and even that, now, like, sort of, they probably will still target you and just tell you that you don't have any fucking medical conditions. Prior to that, they didn't want it, but they, said to the public that this is what they want to do. They said that they want to essentially, raise the minimum serve age, and also raise the maximum age. So do it from like 21 to 30, essentially, saying that, oh, like 18 years old shouldn't go like to the military or wherever, go study, things like that, which kind of makes sense, obviously. However, this is not what they've done. Instead, they saved the lower 18 years old sort of minimums, but they've raised the upper, limit, because obviously they simply need more, people, essentially, to go to war and die for Putin and his yachts and his fucking mistresses, and for all the money that they've stolen, for all the oligarchs, and for all of this. His mafia. This is mafia, and I'm gonna call him and his circles exactly that. He's mafia. And luckily, like, more people seem to realize this even more, especially, again, we're gonna talk about Prigozhin in a second. But yeah, this is what they've done. Surprise, surprise. Mafia light to you. Wow. What the fuck? I'm surprised that people still believe in the shit that the propaganda sort of tells them, which is like, I mean, you are your worst enemy, I guess, but whatever. Okay. So yeah, as I've said about the water drones, essentially, right? Ukraine, and that happened. The attacks, few attacks, on the Russian on Russian ships after Russia has terminated the Ukraine grain deal. And so, and then Russia, after like the day they terminated the deal, they I think it was like in the end of at the end of July, they immediately sent a missile onto port of Odessa on the grain storage units and destroyed tons and tons of grain. Because Russia is a terrorist state, and not only they're terrorizing Ukrainians and trying fascist and terrorist state. Let's put it very clear. And not it doesn't mean that all of the Russians are like that, but it means like the state, the people who represent it, the mafia that controls it essentially right now. Yes, they are fascist terrorist state, and they are fascists and terrorists because again, they terminated the grain deal, and immediately destroyed quite a lot of grain, which again would have went to like poor like African countries, and now it won't, which will spark uh, or can at least spark hunger, and who knows, maybe some wave of immigration, which obviously would go not to Russia but like to Europe and things like that. And this is what Russia is trying to do. That they're just trying to create conflicts around the globe, essentially. And again, we're going to talk about it slightly later in connection to Niger and the coup in Niger, in the country in Africa, right? So yeah, Ukraine attacked two Russian ships. One is the tanker Sig, like one of the like biggest I think Russian tankers. And as of right now, I'm pretty sure. So that was on 4th of August, and like I'm saying, I'm recording at the end of August, so that the tanker is still damaged. It's still in repair. So at least for a month, the tanker cannot essentially transport like oil and things like that, right? And yeah, essentially they like the Ukrainians have accomplished exactly what they wanted to accomplish with this. And I hope I can show the video of the yeah, there was like the video from the like this water drone itself, and it seems like nobody's particularly like shooting basically at this drone. Maybe like at the very end you could see like some like basically like splashes, maybe like somebody with like an automatic rifle or something like that, but you definitely do not see the ship's sort of larger caliber guns sort of targeting this drone and this water drone. And so it just it just basically um not destroys, but what's the better word for destroy? It's like it puts this giant ship out of commission essentially, right? And you could see like how it's tilting on one side, and it was essentially um basically pulled into the berth, into the port by some tugboats. And so yeah, that ship I'm pretty sure is also like on repair right now, the military ship. But the tanker, 100% sure, I'm 100% sure that it's still in dock with a giant hole. And yeah, like I'm saying, I don't remember. I don't think anybody died during this attack. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. I'm not gonna claim that definitely nobody died. However, like if you were sort of on the working on the military vehicle, right? Essentially, like you know, it's your fault. Your country is at war with another country, and you are you're stationed on a military vessel. So what do you want? And during the attack on the tanker, nobody was even injured. So just again goes to show that Ukrainians are trying to do all of their operations in an extremely precise fashion, trying to minimize the injuries and of civilians and even of the military personnel. They're just simply trying to sort of um, remove as many different vehicles of destruction from from essentially being from Russian army, from Russian forces. Just commendable, absolutely. So then, just a little kind of a news, just like one thing in between. In Kiev, there is this giant statue called Rodina Mать, or Mother. What is Rodina? Motherland? Homeland? Homeland Mother, or like Motherland Mother, something like that. And with sword and a shield, and that shield had basically USSR, the ornament of USSR previously, and now it's been replaced with the trident that is the symbol of Ukraine, and that is the Ukrainian what's it called? Herald, coats of arms. It's been done sort of for quite some time, like this operation, because obviously like the statue is very high and like it's all tall, there's metal there and so on and so forth. It's not like absolutely easy operation by any means. But it's been done, and essentially it's been finished before 24th of August, 23rd, 24th, like I said, when it's the Ukrainian Independence Day on 24th, and apparently on 23rd of August, it is the day of the flag, of the national flag, which I didn't know. But yeah, so basically they are stripping away and like slowly but surely removing that poisonous and toxic legacy of USSR and everything that sort of came with it. And they're turning into basically like extremely like nice sort of basically like European style sort of country and so on and so forth, and culture and things like that. Which, if you've ever sort of been to if you've ever been to Ukraine and like to Kiev, wherever, you can feel that, like, especially if you can compare it like to like Belarus or Russia, especially like Russia without St. Petersburg and Moscow. You can definitely feel that Ukraine was always like way closer to essentially to Europe than to like, again, ex-USSR countries, or to Russia, whatever. Because the people are way friendlier. That like even sort of in the restaurants, the staff is like way nicer, and it's like it's always been like way better, way higher quality sort of services and things like that. Anyway, okay. I mean, this is not news whatsoever, but and if you want to see like the reality of this war and what Russia is doing all the time, I'll just leave a few links basically to Medusa, and there are like photo reports. As I've mentioned before, there are people that I'm watching who are doing, Michael Naki and CIT team, Ruslan Leviev, who are doing like the video reports about what's happening sort of um, during this war on like 100, 500, whatever day. And Medusa is doing these like photo reports, like 530th day of war photos. That was from August 8th, 2023, for example. And you get basically the Russian war crimes destroyed just regular civilian buildings. And like, just for people, just for some people, if they like don't understand that this is not a fucking video game, this is not a movie or like a fucking or a TV show. These are real people. This is reality of people right now in Ukraine. This is devastation and tragedy and destruction and deaths and things like that, right? This is war. Uh, like these photo reports, I think, are almost like necessary, um, because it just gives you sort of the perspective essentially of what it is and what's going on actually. And especially I would love if like more like Americans would actually take a look at this, because Americans especially are so like self-centric, and especially like Republican Americans who don't think that the United States should support Ukraine anymore and things like that. If they could like take essentially asses, take the fucking heads out of their asses and take a look at what's going on daily right now. Um, Maybe if they have any fucking empathy, maybe they would change their minds, especially since again, it's not like I mean, it is essentially their pain, but it's not like they're paying more just because United States decided to support Ukraine, because they're already paying for a defense budget, and it's just a portion of that budget goes to Ukraine. But if it wouldn't go to Ukraine, it would go to some other shit. It's not like that defense budget would shrink. Like I don't think, like, I don't understand how some absolute fucking moron from Belarus understands the situation with the budget of United States, and people who live in United States don't fucking understand this for some reason apparently. I don't understand how hard can it be to take a look yourself at how that fucking budget is formed, from which categories money for Ukraine are being allocated, and just figure out that if we stop supporting Ukraine, it's not like we will have more money in our pockets. It's just like we stopped supporting Ukraine, who we promised to support by the accord in 1990, whatever, 1 or 4 or 6, under which they've surrendered all of their fucking nuclear weapons. I don't fucking get it. But yeah, I guess that's besides the point. But this is something that I would love actually for some English speaking people, especially Americans, to actually understand and realize. Okay. And this is something basically related, so I don't know, like, but probably I will just include this whole thing together. Because I mean, yeah, let's just include it. It's all together because it's like every week Russia was destroying like civilian, like bombing some big stuff, sort of big civilian infrastructure or things, because Russia was targeting the sort of I mean, I'm not sure if they were targeting specifically this little church, but they definitely destroyed it. 9th of August. That was like a rocket strike. So that's another, like, how can a church be of a value as a military target, and yet, as you can see, and it goes on, right? And it goes on, and I think this one should be sort of talked a little bit differently, because that was in Chernigiv, and Russia targeted the building of a theater However, in this particular case, and it was like a ballistic missile, apparently, which is like insane. Um, Several people were killed. Um, at least 7 people, like dozens and dozens, were injured. And yeah, it's like the before and after photo of just a theater, and then it's destroyed. And we've even seen like sort of um, videos basically from that particular incident. And yeah, it's, I mean, one thing that I don't get is that apparently there was um there was like a drone exhibition inside the theater, and that I don't fucking get. Like, you are a country at war right now. Why in the fuck do you do any drone exhibitions, especially like basically in the center of a city? Like, that I fucking don't understand whatsoever. Like, what are you fucking thinking about doing that? You, I mean, as a fucking Ukrainian administrations or whoever the fuck did that. And then I also don't understand why the fuck you, as a parent, are going with your children there, because apparently at least like 15 children were injured. Almost 130, 140 people hospitalized, 41 and 15 children. Like, what are you fucking thinking going to objects like that during the wartime? I understand it's a nice sunny day and whatnot. You want to go outside, take a look, whatever. I get it. But like, try to fucking stay away from the buildings with drone exhibitions. It's not like to say that what Russians have done is not a war crime. It absolutely is. They're destroying just a regular city building with like, even if there were like fucking soldiers stationed there, it wouldn't be a legit target, because it's in the middle of a city surrounded by civilians, civilian infrastructure, and so on and so forth. But being a Ukrainian, whoever fucking administration, somebody had to allow that to happen. How are you sleeping at night knowing that you have allowed this exhibition to take place? Again, like, are you not thinking whatsoever? Like, if you want some exhibition, put it on the outskirts of the city. Like, what are you doing? What are you fucking doing? Is it an act of terrorism? Yes. Is it a war crime? Yes. Does it mean that you've done a fucking good job of like protecting your own citizens? No, absolutely fucking not. Apparently, it was like the religious holiday, Яблочный Спас, like apples, Spas, I don't fucking know, like wherever is the I barely know. I don't even know like all these things like in Russian, to be honest, because I'm not that religious whatsoever, and I definitely don't know the correct terms in English. So forgive me for that. But yeah, yeah, I'm perplexed. I'm really perplexed as to why people would not be more careful. That's all I'm saying. I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying, like, you gotta try to be more careful, because it's your own life. Nobody's responsible for your own life besides you. So yeah, yes, I will include basically. We'll include sort of photos of this absolute devastation, and a few sort of articles about it. Yeah. Now then, let's quickly talk about Mr. Beast, because he's apparently after 1.5 years of war still does, and after 8 years of Russian occupation, still doesn't understand that Crimea is not Russia, and Taiwan is also not fucking China. Because in his apparently last, well, not last anymore, but in his video for whatever the fuck he was doing, like every country on earth fights for $250,000, whatever garbage. First of all, I don't understand how people are watching this garbage. It's always so manufactured, so fucking, the stupid transitions, the stupid shit. Like, it's always so fucking bad. I don't understand why people are watching this shit. Truthfully, like, I have absolutely zero clue. And yeah, like in this photo, right? Um, you can see that, not photo, but like on a stop freeze frame. You can see that Ukraine is circled sort of one color, but the peninsula is not. Essentially, sort of showing that it is belonging to Russia, essentially, which again, it ain't. Same with Taiwan, as if it's a part of China, which it ain't. Doesn't matter how much the fucking Chinese propaganda or Russian propaganda wants you to believe. So yeah, it's just yeah, it's just so fucking stupid. And I haven't heard him fucking apologizing for that. I don't see that he basically did anything about it. They definitely didn't re-upload the video. They didn't mask anything in the video, or didn't try to do anything about it, essentially. So yeah, great on him, for being a bit of a dickhead. And like, I understand it might be a bit hypocritical to say that, okay, sort of like, why would Americans sort of care about what's going on in Europe? Like, oh, like, do you know, like, every like war or conflict that's happening right now in Africa or something like that? And that would be a valid critique. However, I'm pretty sure he's aware of Russia. Like, on the map, he can probably point where that is. And I'm pretty sure, because it is about Russia, because it's about like one of the biggest countries, because it's about a country that started one of the bloodiest wars. I mean, in fact, the bloodiest war since World War II in the whole continent of Europe. It's not just some small local conflict. Um, I mean, you gotta fucking know at least something about it, right? You gotta. And or, hire people who understand how to make maps and who understand how to make correct maps. Don't know. Anyway, that's just like, that's just some bad shit, because again, you have 100 fucking 80 million subscribers. You have more money than God, probably. Like, can't you fucking hire competent people? Really? Like, seriously? This is the best that you can do? And again, no apologizing, no nothing, no corrections. Yeah, it's pathetic, to be honest. And again, I've never fucking watched really his content. I've opened it like few videos just to know, like, what the fuck is this shit, and it is shit, absolute garbage to me. And I don't understand how he's, like I'm saying, how he's got so many views, so many subscribers. It's garbage content, but yeah, and he's apparently even fucking bad at it, that he can't fucking do it properly. So there's that. Fuck this guy. Now let's talk about something positive. About the fact that Netherlands and Denmark, and now apparently Norway, will give Ukraine F-16s fighter jets. So on the 20th of August, Netherlands and Danes said that they will actually give F-16s to Ukraine after training Ukrainian pilots. 42 jets from Netherlands, 19 from Denmark, which is already quite a lot, to be honest. Netherlands, like 42 jets, that's really, that's a substantial amount. And yeah, now apparently Norway as well. However, when and how many, unsure. They um, did not sort of clarify that particular part. This is great. This is great news, and I hope more countries will follow suit, and that Ukraine will get proper amount necessary for them to defend their airspace, and yeah, maybe even to establish like air superiority, hopefully, or at least some kind of dominance in the air. That would be great. So yeah, that's big, great news. Not everything about this big and great news, because Lars von Trier is apparently a garbage human being, saying that basically lives of Russians also matter. After basically they said that these F-16s will go to Ukraine. Okay, so lives of Russians also matter and lives of Ukrainians don't, or what? Or also matter lives of which Russians? The occupants and murderers who are on the territory of goddamn fucking Ukraine right now? Well, they have a choice. They can just go back to fucking Russia, and then their lives will be absolutely saved. Because if there is not a single Russian occupant on the territory of Ukraine, guess what? Ukraine does not do anything to those Russians because they're in Russia. And if there is no more war, guess what? Ukraine do not attack anything in the Russian territory, because even right now they specifically target military objects. Why? Because they're at war. Stop the war, fucking problem solved. And the fact that he addressed it to Zelensky and Putin, to Mr. Zelensky and Mr. Putin, which is like complete fucking insanity. And it's not like I care about this filmmaker. I haven't seen, I don't think, any of his movies. I don't give a fuck. But he is quite big, right, in filmmaking circles, or at least, people know him. And the fact that this is the message that he puts out, like, I swear sometimes these people are absolute fucking morons. I don't know. Don't know what to say about that. More than that, sometimes these people, these famous people, are fucking total morons. Bad people. So yeah. Okay, I guess let's go and talk actually about like two biggest news of August. One of them is, give me just a second, because where was it? Because one of them, and let's start with him. One of them is Igor Strelkov-Girkin. He's a convicted, internationally wanted terrorist who shot down a Malaysian Boeing in 2014, I believe it was MH17, and killed almost 298 people on board. And Netherlands, we start to see the connection here, who are, like I said right now, who are now giving fighter jets to Ukraine, have convicted him to life of imprisonment. He was sentenced in absentia because obviously he's not there, but now he's in Russia. Hopefully after this whole fucking Russian mafia will collapse, hopefully he will be transferred by new better, I guess, freaking Russian government to Netherlands, and he will spend the rest of his life in jail in Netherlands for the crime that he has committed. Because right now he has been sort of jailed as like a political prisoner, because he was essentially sort of criticizing Putin and his mafia, and like Ministry of Defense, sort of the head, and Shoigu, and all of these kind of cunts who are responsible for the war in Ukraine right now. But he was criticizing them, not that they should stop. He was criticizing them that they are doing their job poorly. You see? And he was an officer in FSB, which is KGB essentially. And yeah, he's absolute garbage. He's a piece of shit, but he wasn't detained for his crimes against humanity, crimes again that the international court have convicted him for. No, he was jailed because he criticized the powerful people, and he was captured. I'm pretty sure, was it after the mutiny of was it after mutiny? I think it was after Prigozhin's mutiny. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it was after Prigozhin's mutiny. And after Prigozhin's mutiny, basically Putin decided to clean the house a little bit and show that sort of he's the boss, so to speak. Air quotes, big air quotes. So first, so to speak, victim was this Igor Girkin. Then also, like, basically with sentencing him as like a quite prominent sort of figure in like a media space in Russian speaking, especially these like pro Z, like Z war fucking twats kind of circles. He was quite a prominent figure, as well as Prigozhin. After sentencing him, he kind of shut down a little bit of those cunts, other people who have their like 100,000, 200,000, 400,000 Telegram channels, 100 people channels. They kind of started to kind of speak slightly quieter, in a sense, you know what I mean, like kind of criticize less of the elites, so to speak. But anyway, so that was the first sort of canary in a coal mine, so to speak. He is in jail right now. He is not dead, and I forgot, even like, did they actually charge, what did they charge him? I think they charged him something like they charge like real opposition with basically like discrediting Russian army or stuff like that, because they've created these laws right now that that essentially sort of like me, for what I am saying. I mean, I'm not a Russian citizen, right? So I don't think I would. I don't know how it works, but actually, like, if I would be a Russian citizen, and for everything that I've said basically on these critical discussions series over these episodes, or 20 to 25 even episodes, I would be sentenced to jail as well, unfortunately. But yeah, basically for so-called fakes about Russian army, which is not fakes, this is the reality, but because Russian state denies the reality, because they think that denying the actual reality backed by facts and everything is somehow a plausible deniability. And well, they're fucking brain dead, obviously, but that's the state of the Russian state. So yeah, essentially he has been jailed for criticizing even directly Putin, by the way, calling him apparently cowardly bum. I don't follow this kind of piece of shit. I briefly follow it just because Michael Naki and like I'm saying, does this in his like more or less daily reporting about the war, and this kind of a Khan Girkin was present in a lot of those reports. But anyway, he is jailed. That was the first step, right? And now the second step, and the second guy who actually who actually was way bigger sort of problem, in a sense, was, well, Prigozhin himself. Yevgeny Prigozhin, the head of ЧВК Wagner, or in English, private military company Wagner, but it's not private military company. This is an organized fucking terrorist group. Yevgeny Prigozhin, right? Apparently, um, his plane was either destroyed by a bomb inside the plane or was destroyed by ground to air, sort of like a air defense missile, something like that. And this is basically his plane going down, 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 down. And then, and then apparently there are more footage basically from the side of the crash, which is interesting. What's interesting is that, and I will just include this link later, is that you see all this like green grass right here. Apparently, all of the top layer of soil was excavated, and it happened just a week ago. Essentially, the plane. It's not a plane crash; it's a shutdown of the plane, right? Because the lady on the first video, she said that she heard 2 explosions, or 2 like booms essentially, and it could be. And in another video, some man says that he heard like 3 of them. So one can be sort of boom from like the rocket leaving the ground. Then it can be a boom sort of from the rocket exploding next to the plane and essentially, like disintegrating, because this falling down plane, it doesn't have like a wing, I think, already. And then the third explosion could be from like the like when the plane basically hits the ground, essentially, right? Or maybe like as it's when it just drops there, so it doesn't seem like the fuel detonated or anything like that. But yeah, this is just like it's, and you know what? What's even more interesting is that not only Prigozhin died in this plane explosion, but apparently like the actual sort of creator of this Wagner group, actually the neo-Nazi who was called Wagner, what was his name? Dmitry Utkin. That's his name. That actually, like, Utkin is the one who created the Wagner group, and then sort of Prigozhin has become like this like public face of it. But Dmitry Utkin is like a real fucking neo-Nazi with like freaking like all the like swastika tattoos and things like that. It's like absolute despicable human being, like with all of the Nazi symbols and things like that, SS symbols and shit like that. By the way, both of them were just so we understand the state of Russia. But they both were the heroes of Russia. They had like this ordens, heroes of Russia. So yeah, that's an interesting one, right? And and you could see like on this video, basically, I don't know, can we get controls? Whatever. You could see like on the videos, I will put the links, obviously, some kind of a tracers of like the something else that happened. Because as you can see, like the plane is dropping down and there's like a plume of whatever it is, like air that it come and goes through, or maybe some jet fuel, or maybe something else, or just some kind of a fire sort of smoke. But before, like at the very start of the video, you could see also on the left side in the top corner there was even more plumes of smokes. So something happened there as well. And if a plane just disintegrated in the air, like you wouldn't see those things, because why would you? If it's not an explosion, it just sort of disintegrated in terms of, like, I don't know, literally like a wing fell off or something like that. Anyway, so with this murder of, because it is exactly that, it is murder of Prigozhin, and it is very public. This is a public execution. That's why I'm saying, like, this is mafia. This is literally like a Godfather style execution of a person who betrayed you. And there is a video of Putin saying, like basically was interviewed in whatever 2012 or something like that, and somebody and the reporter said like, what's something like you like something like unforgivable basically, and Putin like laughs and things like, I don't know, whatever, and then like very seriously sort of said like betrayal, and then sort of just stays quiet essentially. He is mafia, and this is just a public statement because the plane was flying from Moscow. So if we were to believe that this is some kind of a explosion that was put there by Ukrainian like whatever, like Ukrainian sort of special forces, or they would have to be in Moscow, in the airport of the Moscow, and somehow avoid all of those things, all of the like metal detectors, to freaking bomb detectors and things like that, to put that explosives on board, which is just dumb, like Occam's razor. Like, what is the likeliest of explanations? Putin gave Prigozhin sort of guarantees that he won't touch him. He lied, as he always does, and he had personal beef with uh, Prigozhin. Why? Because Prigozhin humiliated him publicly by trying to overthrow the regime. Essentially, it's just this cunt. Well, he is also a coward apparently, because he didn't go all the way through with this thing that he, well, should have gone through, and now he's dead. And good, because this is a piece of shit. This is a fucking criminal. It's a murderer. This is a absolute despicable being. He's not a human. This is, I mean, just only technically. This is a giant piece of shit. And so I'm glad he's dead. But the way he is dead, not particularly great, because it just goes to show that there is absolutely no law, no reason, no nothing in Russia at all anymore. There wasn't much of it all before, and now you just see that, like, literally the air defense sort of missile just can strike a plane, kill 10 people on board or something. Like, okay, you killed Prigozhin, you killed this Utkin, so you beheaded essentially the whole sort of Wagner group. Okay, but then you also killed other people on board who, like, I mean, since they're flying with him, they're probably not great people. But what about um the pilots? Are they also shitty people? I don't know. Like, I can't answer these questions. I'm just like saying that there are better ways to kill those who, like, you really have a beef with. It's like, it sounds awful, but we're talking about awful people. We're talking about literal mafia. But at least, again, like, you killed pilot, second pilot, and stewardess essentially. Were they really awful people? I don't know. I hope not. But then again, like, you killed them too. I just don't get that part. I mean, I understand, like, they don't care about human lives whatsoever, and they just wanted to create sort of the biggest public execution with the clearest message that should be delivered to everyone who kind of wants to go against Putin, essentially, saying that, yeah, if you don't, well, kind of saying exactly this: if you don't go all the way, and if you don't kill me, I will kill you. That's like gladiator type of shit. So only one of us is walking out of that arena. Well, in terms of Prigozhin, apparently he thought he's a fucking special boy. He ain't. So yeah, that happened, and this kind of marks basically sort of putting essentially, like, Putin Putin, the fucking terrorist, internationally wanted person, putting the fucking his food basically on the throat of everyone who kind of criticized him, and saying that, see what happened to Girkin? He's in jail right now. See what happened to Prigozhin? He's dead right now. If you want to go against me, I mean, try me, essentially, what he's saying. And I think for quite some time right now, there won't be anyone who will try that. And why I'm saying for quite some time, because I think as Russian army will become weaker and weaker, as Ukraine will free more and more of their territories, I am relatively sure that Kadyrov will, when the Russian army will be at the weakest, he will sort of declare the independence of Chechnya, and he will sort of create his own sort of little, so to speak, his own little paradise there, and sort of try to be independent of Russia. I'm more than sure of that. It's just like he will do it at the best sort of backstab time for Putin. Maybe even he will kill him. I'm not sure about that, but we will see obviously how it all goes. I know one thing for sure. Dictators don't end well. Sooner or later they will be overthrown. It's going to be really bad for people. So as it's been like for the longest time, the priority of every Russian and Belarusian citizen for that matter should be to get the fuck out of these regions, of these countries, because nothing good will be here. Nothing good will happen here in the next 2 even years to 5 to 10 years. Nothing good. It only will get worse. This I know for a fact. Because that's just the beginning. This is Russia not lost the war, but like starting to lose the war already. And as these things will continue, the Russia will continue to disintegrate. The amount of fucking terrorists in Russia, in terms of like just domestic terrorists, and I'm calling them terrorists because they will be terrorizing the civilian population, because this is already what they're doing. Cunts who were in fucking prisons got out of prisons thanks to this fuck, and now they went back sort of from war to homes, and now they're raping, they're raping little girls, they're fucking killing people, and they're in many cases they're not even being caught. So there's fucking that. And that will only escalate, because there's going to be way more absolutely mental fucking cunts who will return from the war with broken fucking psyche, and they will do heinous shit. So there is that. War-related and drone-related things is that Margarita Simonyan, who is one of the propagandists on Russian TV, said that apparently her house, or like near her house, second drone in a week crashed or was shut down. Not really sure. And apparently, the Ministry of Defense actually put like an air defense system near her house. That is actually pretty insane, to be honest. But she's a fucking propagandist, and she's quite famous propagandist, like I'm saying. And let's just like look at her face, that so we know her face, or like people who don't know her face. This is a piece of shit who openly sort of on TV in sort of prime time calls for murders for murders of Ukrainians, for more drone strikes, for more missile ballistic strikes on civilian infrastructure, on everything like that. And so now the drones are coming at her, and hopefully they will reach her one really good day, hopefully in September. Again, I never wished before the start of this war. I never wished any harm basically to anybody. Never actually like even muttered these words out of my mouth. But after seeing just how much of absolute garbage human beings these human beings are, like Margarita Simonyan, like fucking Kiselyov, or like some other propagandist, Solovyov, who are spreading the hatred. And I can see this hatred translates even to like my own like parents or like grandparents, because they are brain dead enough to continue watching the Russian propaganda and not like having a filter in their fucking stupid heads, which I blame them as well, like don't get me wrong. But without the propaganda, like maybe they would have been even better humans. And so like these pieces of shit, like they absolutely fucking deserve, like, not death. I wouldn't say death. Okay, like that's like still, I would want them to be prosecuted, because death is such an easy way out, especially if it's a death by like a missile strike or wherever. Like boom, you're gone. Like this is so like easy, and I don't want these pieces of shit to get an easy way out. I would really want them to be put in jail and just like rot in jail till the rest of their days because of the things that they've done. And they're doing this for money. So they're selling their souls for money. They have no fucking morality. They have no empathy. They are brutal fucking murder. Well, not murderers necessarily, but murderers one step removed, essentially. I despise them so much. Yeah, again, like, okay, death would be probably way too easy, but, and like I've showed you before in a previous episode, one of the previous episodes, I showed you that Ukraine was doing drone strikes on particular area in Russia, where a lot of these like rich fucking elitists, propagandists, or oligarchs, or Putin himself or his friends, like mafia. Basically, Ukraine was doing the strikes, or trying to do the strikes anyway, on that area, residential area. I think it was like near Moscow, where a lot of these mafia lives. So it's not like Ukrainians are trying to target just regular civilians. No, no, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have so much admiration for Ukrainians, for Ukrainian forces, and how they're conducting their operations. This is insane. Like, they're, even when they're targeting sort of civilians, it is civilians that are fucking propagandists, who are working for this war machine, who are spreading hatred, who are inciting hatred towards Ukrainians, who are calling for destruction of Ukraine, for killing of Ukrainian children, of Ukrainian civilians, so on and so forth. So I have no sympathy for these pieces of shit. I have just pure admiration for these special operations, drone strikes that Ukrainians are doing now on the territory of Russia. It's brilliant. It's amazing. I have to say, right? I have to say that I've actually opened a ton of tabs today to to talk about all of that's been happening in August. I don't know, like the main things are the ones that we've just talked about. And let's just finish sort of with Prigozhin, because apparently he was buried on 30th of August, and it was sort of closed ceremony, even though by sort of Russian law, if you are this like hero of Russia, you have like to have like some special sort of ceremony with like guns firing up into the sky and like having some sort of like a procession and it's all of the fucking formalities, right? But because law does not exist in Russia anymore, hasn't existed since like whatever 2008, none of that was done, and apparently it was just closed sort of ceremony, and nobody was allowed there, and it was sort of it was safeguarded by like police and like special forces, and yeah, there were like I don't know like 30 40 people apparently who knew that Kant sort of closely, I guess. Yeah, but what's interesting is that apparently um apparently like more and more I don't know where I ever seen, but apparently like more and more people kind of go like went like sort of outside and like created these like spontaneous sort of memorials for Wagner. I understand that like judging 140 million people by the actions of like a couple hundred is absolutely stupid, but the fact that there are people alive who praised a literal fucking criminal, war criminal. If he actually went to court, he would be considered a war criminal. I have no doubt, Prigozhin. That is absolute piece of shit. Like, how can you do this? Like, I just don't get it. Whatever. Just like, let's just finish with this shit. And let's just finish.
Но я не буду обманывать, я должен честно сказать, Россия стоит на грани катастрофы. Если сегодня не отрегулировать эти винтики, то самолет
This is like when I see. Why is it the fuck? When I see things like that, and I will translate. I mean, it is translated on screen. Prigozhin, in some interview, I don't know when it was, said that you'd better kill me, but I won't lie. I'll be honest. Russia is on the brink of disaster. If these screws are not tightened and not adjusted today, the plane will disintegrate in the air, said Prigozhin in an eerie prophetic statement. This is posted by Vishegrad24 on Twitter. When I see things like that, I truly think we're living in a simulation. We're truly living in some kind of a fucking simulation. I don't know what kind of a what's the goal of it, what kind of a fucking shitty joke that is. But like the guy's plane literally disintegrated in air. Like this is insane. Like, I mean, maybe I'm just like applying sort of too much value to this little sort of coincidences, but yeah, it's kind of eerie when you see how the person died and then you see that kind of a prophecy, essentially ominous prophecy. Yeah, I think we should end here with Prigozhin and his Wagner Group, because Wagner Group is no more. I'm pretty sure some of those murderers are still stationed in Belarus. I'm not sure what's going to happen to them. I'm not sure who's paying them right now, because Prigozhin and Utkin are dead and Russia does not sponsor them anymore. Russian state, there is. So either Belarusian state somehow sponsors them, those like 4,000, maybe there's less than that now, because I've heard that the sort of tent sort of this little kind of a town that was assembled in like a village in Belarus is slowly getting sort of getting removed, basically. But yeah, I haven't seen like the any Maxar or like a satellite photos, so not sure really if it's true. We'll see, I guess, in about like a couple weeks. But yeah, Prigozhin is done, Utkin is done, Wagner Group is done, this terrorist organization is done, and they will not terrorize anymore anyone in Ukraine or in Africa for that matter. But yeah, unfortunately, there are still obviously the people who participated in all these atrocities who did not go anywhere, and they will probably resign with like Ministry of Defense in Russia, Ministry of Offense, and will continue to do heinous fucking crimes and things like that, or maybe will enter some other group of like similar fucking terrorist group, which I think Russian Ministry of Defense actually created recently. I forgot how it's called, like RDK fucking Redut, I think, or something like that. Something like that. Anyway, so yeah, we're done with this piece of shit. I'm glad I will never see this despicable face anymore. So that's that. I actually wanted to recommend Peter Zayan, Peter Zayan, I think it's how he's pronounced. Zayan on geopolitics. Obviously, like he's a massive fucking YouTube channel, but um, um, he is a really smart person, and he has got like really good grasp on fucking seemingly everything in the world, which is insane. So if you want to follow something about like geopolitics in English language, and it includes like China and Russia and Ukraine and United States and like everything seemingly. This dude is so fucking knowledgeable. It's crazy. I can only aspire to become some like 10% as knowledgeable as he is one day. But yeah, Peter Zion on YouTube, Zion on geopolitics, amazing channel. Definitely recommend everybody to check him out. Let's talk the last thing about. I know that I've had like quite a lot of material here, but truthfully, I feel like the main one we covered the main ones, and I think we're gonna skip talking about piece of shit Elon Musk this time around, simply because we've done already 1.5 hours almost. Let's just quickly sort of mention that Russian court sentences Michael Naki and Ruslan Leviev, these people whose reporting I'm following, because they are one of the best at reporting the news and events about the war in Ukraine right now, and I've recommended their channel and their particular videos, even with like subtitles, because they're really great. Sentences to 11 years in jail in absentia for army fakes. And again, when Russians say army fakes, it means that this is actual truth. And yeah, they simply don't want people to tell the truth. So there's that. And both of them are obviously living outside Russia because they're not stupid. Okay. And now, actually, let's talk about like the last news like for today, and it is the fact that Russian ruble, and I know like this sort of comes out of nowhere almost. However, like Russian rubles um, crossed the border, that like crossed the sort of line, essentially um, crossed the line of 100 rubles um, per dollar. Then like central banks sort of intervene and whatnot, sort of raise the what's it called, raise the base rate essentially, right? So it kind of sort of limited a little bit the rates. However, in August, dollar crossed 100, and that's like one of the highest it's ever been. um the the capital is flowing out of the country. The country still relies massively on the imports because Russia doesn't produce fucking anything essentially, and even the factories that are in Russia are subsidiaries of bigger manufacturers of international manufacturers. If it's like an LG washing machine being assembled in Russia, it doesn't mean that Russia is able to produce that machine without LG, obviously. So Russia is deeply dependent on imports, and now sort of the with the sanctions, although they're not working as well, and I'm going to talk about it. I will try to do videos and these like sort of shows, I guess you could say, I don't know, episodes. I'll try to produce them a little bit more often than once per month, because once per month just doesn't give me like this time frame of the events happening and sort of how to like succinctly talk about them, because there's a lot of things kind of happening, and so yeah, like I'll try to do like a better job essentially going forward. But yeah, sanctions are working, but at the same time, Europe is still buying a shit ton of like Russian gas, apparently the liquid gas, which is interesting. That they're still being hypocrites, and yeah, Europeans being hypocrites is something that can be absolutely like just the part of the show, because oh, I've got like I think we will like start next time with like Europeans being hypocrites, and we're just gonna go through a few of stark examples. Let's put it that way. Not only in relationship to Russia and to war in Ukraine, but just in general, like some football players going to Saudi Arabia to play there, while that is a literal fucking basically dictatorship regime that is built upon almost like slave labor, and that has like atrocious that it has done atrocious things like murdering freaking journalist Khashoggi, right? I think his surname was, and yeah, and because Saudi Arabia is in ties with United States, nothing happens to them, and because they are all also obviously have all those massive like oil reserves and whatnot. Yeah, like we're gonna talk about this. I feel like it's about time to actually introduce sort of like this kind of a segment to the show. Europeans or like Americans or whatever being hypocrites. How about that? So yeah, um, basically, and at some point, Russian central bank sort of tried to force like big exporters to actually sell quite a lot of the currency, quite a lot of dollars and whatnot. But then I think like some of them basically like lobbied to not do this, to just leave like the money where they got like sales essentially, like in like whatever Chinese banks or like European banks or whatever, or Indian banks for that matter, and not to actually like repatriate essentially the capital to the Russia. So yeah, that's interesting. Um, yeah, for example, apparently like Reuters said that about like $39 billion is which is like a tenth of um, of um, of all the exports that Russia is doing, is sitting somewhere again like outside Russia essentially. And about like in like Indian rupees, like I'm saying, Chinese wines or whatever, and then about 40% of exports is in rubles. So it also doesn't give you neither dollars nor euros nor that you need to buy actual goods that you want to import to Russia, because again, like I'm saying, Russia does not produce basically anything of like technological value. Essentially, they need to import everything, or like mostly everything. And so yeah, like all of that obviously sort of pushes the rates up and up, because you have less of those dollars and you need them more. So yeah, that's that. But again, if you are sort of in Putin's mafia fucking clan, you can lobby just to not sell, not to transfer all those like dollars and euros you've earned for exporting some kind of a gas or oil or maybe something else. Um, yeah, you can just say, yeah, well, you know what? That there's an exemption for me. One law for you, one law for me. So never forget that. Yeah. Yeah. I think we're gonna end here. I mean, I think no, I think we're gonna end. You know what? Let's end on one interesting post that I've seen. Who's done it? Ivan Zhdanov has done it. Okay, let's end on this one. So Ivan Zhdanov, who is now he's the head of the Anti-Corruption Foundation that was founded by Navalny. This foundation is obviously sort of investigates the corruption in all the kind of ranks in Russian Federation, and he's sort of his reasoning why demobilization is something that is coming soon. Basically, that there is the autumn soon. So the and in autumn, I think the what's it called, like the Russian Duma or Russian like Parliament, essentially, they will go back to work essentially, and will be able to pass a few laws that might actually again like renew the demobilization, because the law that Putin signed last year, it's so insane that it's been like as soon as gonna be a year of this shit. Uh, the law that Putin signed, law of about mobilization that Putin signed into law, it never stopped being a law. They never sort of unsign it or like signed another law that sort of removes that one. Like they never did it. They signed it once. Technically, right now in Russia, there is still an ongoing mobilization. It's just like they don't really do it. However, and this is what's important, and this is what Ivan Zhdanov pointed out. They've put forth new fines, 40,000 rubles to not like visiting Voenkomat or draft office, or 500,000 rubles fine for organizations for basically not notifying the personnel about this kind of drafts that they've got, because essentially, if you're working, the government knows where you are, and they send those drafts, because like you might be kind of technically living in one place but not living there really, but if you're working there, you're working there, so they just send those notices directly to your work. But here's the catch. Previously you needed to be kind of legally kind of a draftee, is for you to sign the actual draft notice. So like a postman sort of delivers it to you, you sign that you've received it, and since that moment, you would be already kind of legally sort of binded by this and that, sort of like there's little kind of things that you now can or cannot do, or what kind of fines you would get, things like that. However, now what Russia is doing is electronic notifications. They're doing the electronic sort of basically like a database of those who might be basically of those who are of the age of a conscription age, And now, what's even more interesting is that you do not need to sign like actual physical draft notice. You will be sent that notice to the to your sort of electronic account at this governmental services sort of portal that Russia has created, where you can like pay for like your like electrical bills and shit like that. And here's the fucking catch here. Um, it was previously like that. I'm not sure if they. I mean, they will keep it 100%. Basically, you are a draftee already 7 days after you get this electronic notification, right? And it is up to you to basically go every day or like every week and check, did they send you anything? So the government doesn't even care anymore about the legalities, and that's why I'm saying like I don't think like the law right now sort of allows for this, but when this Duma or Parliament, whatever the fuck, in Russia will assemble, because now they're like on holidays or something like that. When they will assemble, I'm pretty sure that the first thing they will do is to pass this as a law, that this electronical type of shit is also now a legit version of like notification of the mobilized, of the mobilization. So there is that. Then if you don't actually if you don't go to this Wainkamat or this drafting office, you might be stripped away for certain rights. Rights like to register transportation, to register sole proprietorship. You will be denied credits. You will be denied essentially any sort of deals with immovable property, right? So essentially, like, if you get this notice and you're like, okay, I'm going away from here, I'm going from Russia, out of Russia, because fuck that shit. Now you can't sell your house, for example, or your flat if you have one. And also, perhaps maybe you won't be able to even exit it, the country, because I think previously it was like I think previously it was sort of wherever during these like 7 days, for example. But now, like from the moment, I think, don't quote me on that right now, because I don't think all of it is sort of law at this particular point, but it's clearly what they're like trying to do now. Like the second you will receive this notification, essentially the customs the border customs right services will receive sort of, okay, this person is flagged as it's called невыездной, essentially like a non-exiting person, kind of I don't know how to say it clear more clearly, but yeah, essentially there will be like a little, like a red sign next to your name saying like, no, can't fucking exit. So yeah, but whatever. So was just 10 fucking signs, right? This is not like what signs that are that Ivan Zhdanov thinks that signs that show that there is a mobilization, the next wave of mobilization incoming. Apparently, they want to the parliament wants to pass the law about criminal responsibility for avoiding essentially mobilization, because right now it's just fines. They were quite small fines, now they're bigger fines, but it's not criminal offense yet, so you're not going to jail as long as you can pay that fine, right? But seemingly like when the parliament is on duty again, they will pass this like first thing essentially. Some organizations, because they had those what's called like a what's it called, like no acceptances. Some organizations have the exemptions, That's the word. Exemptions for their workers, like the ones who are responsible for like um, cleaning cleaning the streets, maybe like like the I don't know who, like road workers, maybe things like that. Basically, workers who are needed sort of to keep the streets clean and running, to keep the cities running, things like that. They are getting more and more exemptions right now, and apparently, people are sending to these like bigger media resources, sort of these exemptions, like showing that, oh, look at this, look at that, right? Then right now there's drafting offices sort of send notifications about like, hey, can you come to us and clarify some data about you, which is something that nobody should do, obviously. But again, so nobody defuncted it. That previous law, it is still in place, and apparently not a lot of people actually not a lot of people were drafted in the first sort of wave. And right now, again, since Putin is facing quite a lot of he's facing defeat, right? Because Ukrainian forces are advancing. Ukrainian forces are doing quite a good job, even on land, basically right now in the Zaporizhia region. They want to sort of they want to create sort of the want to establish, basically secure certain positions to cut the supplies to Crimea, cut the supplies to the closest sort of positions of Russians in like the Zaporizhia region and in some like Kherson region, things like that. Not Kherson region, what is it? Donetsk Lugansk region. And so but the main line is like to cut off Crimea essentially right now. And it seems like they're doing really well, really good job. And Putin will need more meat essentially, because that's exactly what it is. It's going to be meat, because Ukrainians will destroy them, and because Russian commandment is despicable. They're unqualified. They're shitty, wherever generals or commanders and things like that. They can't do anything, and the thing is that Russian commandment, like the head of them, right, like the Shoigu, like the minister of defense, or the commander of army, or Putin himself, they're in complete denial. They think everything is great, everything is fine, and nobody's willing to essentially tell them the truth, because people who are telling them the truth, like Girkin, are right now in jail. People who criticize essentially the head office, Prigozhin, again dead. Several commanders who were like sort of on the ground commanders, who dared to say that it's not all rosy and amazing as you sort of speak in your fucking TV propaganda shit. Like on the ground, the reality of it is like, we lack equipment, we lack ammunition, everything is actually pretty fucking bad. Those people are getting literally demoted, or like either like fired straight up, like Sorovikin, or getting demoted and sent like to Africa or somewhere like far away. And that's brilliant news, by the way. This is brilliant news because it means that all the years of this so-called, what is it, like negative selection, right? Like, or what's it called? Oh, I have to know. Was it? How is this called in English? Negative selection. Yeah. It's a process that occurred especially in rigid hierarchies, most notably dictatorships, which Russia is. That the person which remain in power forever chooses with the prime criterion of incompetence. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, it is like that, but yeah, basically, if you don't know, negative selection is when you choose people who will be loyal to you instead of people who are competent. And negative years and actually like decades and actually at this point already almost like a century of negative selection in Russia, well, has created this Russia, this absolutely despicable piece of shit country. And yeah, it's created all of those cunts in KGB and FSB and all of those other fucking pieces of garbage agencies that they're incompetent. They only know how to essentially jail opposition, unarmed people. Again, jail people who are protesting against the regime with blank white pieces of pages in their hands. But when it comes to actually dealing with armed people, with real forces, they're all incompetent, absolutely incompetent. But the dictator in power doesn't want to hear that because he thinks that he is the best strategist in this fucking game, in this fucking world, and he's amazing and everyone should bow to him. That ain't gonna happen. And what's gonna happen is that Putin will end up either in jail or dead at some point. And I'm not saying at some point as in like when he's like 95 and just chilling somewhere in Tenerife or something like that. No, he's gonna end up dead or in jail in the next like fucking 5 years. I'm pretty sure about that. In the next 10 years, I'm pretty sure about that. But yeah, maybe in the next 5 years, to be honest. So yeah. Anyway, I think we're gonna end here. Once again, I've had a bit more material. I kind of I've bit slightly more than I can chew, so to speak. But I think, yeah, this August, like the main events were these absolutely heinous these absolutely heinous missiles attacks on civilians in Ukraine. It was marked by essentially good progress of Ukraine drone strike attacks on Russia that did not kill, as far as I know, any civilians, or at least like very, very extremely minimal amount of people. And it just showed absolute brilliance of how Ukraine is executing these operations, how they are targeting specifically military objects, specifically like airfields and factories that produce like military equipment and things like that, or like aerodromes, airfields, or oil tankers, just to show that no, there won't be dominance, Russian dominance in the Black Sea, because now we have our own little fleet of these little drones, and you have your giant sort of warships, but we have these little nimble things that can, a couple of them can basically put your giant $100 million ship out of service for months. And okay, you're gonna repair them. It will cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. Our drone costs whatever, $5,000 probably. We're gonna launch them again. And so if you do not continue our grain deal, well, you will not be doing any deals of your own in the Black Sea either. And I think that particular thing marked the middle, essentially, of August, or like the first part of August, because people were thinking, okay, Russia exited the grain deal and now they're striking Ukrainian infrastructure, Ukrainian silos and things like that. But then Ukraine immediately showed that, okay, no, Russia. Just because you exited the grain deal, you just now signed your own essentially death sentence in terms of navigation in the Black Sea region. Because now, since you don't provide us any guarantees, we're not going to provide your tankers or in general vessels any guarantee either. So you're not safe anymore. And I think it is absolutely brilliant. And especially it is brilliant because nobody on that tanker nobody of civilians was injured, of the sailors, because it's one thing to be on the work on a ship, forgot whatever the names of them are, and it's another to be on an oil tanker. I understand it is still sort of working for the Russian government essentially, but there's the sailors. They're not military personnel. So I'm really glad that nobody was injured. But yeah, Ukraine showed to Russia that no, we don't get any guarantees. You don't get any guarantees either. So it's fair deal now. It's it's everybody's fucking game. We can play this game too, and this is brilliant, right? And then obviously the fact that these propagandists, not propagandists, these war criminals, terrorists. One was jailed, another one was just murdered. I mean, I would rather have Prigozhin jailed as well, and Girkin not jailed in Russia, but jailed actually in Netherlands. But it is what it is. There's going to be less people who criticize Russia, which means that they will make more mistakes, which means that they will fail quicker, and Ukrainians will advance faster, and nothing will be fixed in Russia in terms of like command and in terms of like army and all of those things. And it will lead to quicker collapse of Russia, which is brilliant, which is amazing, which is everyone should want that in the world if they want a safer world, because Russia in its current state is a terrorist, fascist state led by literal mafia. And that state in its current form cannot exist. It shouldn't exist, and it cannot and it must not exist. So yeah, all power to the Ukrainians, Ukrainian people, Ukrainian armed forces, and I'm just hoping that they will be able, even by the end of this year, to deoccupy and to free a lot more of these territories, of their territories. And yeah, maybe the next year will be the end of this war, and hopefully they will be able to free all of this all of their territories, and build really great sort of air defense and yeah, just defense systems that will protect them from wherever might come from Russia. And hopefully by that point Russia will just disintegrate into, like I said before, 20 different republics, and then we'll go from there. Okay. Thank you very much for checking the stream. Thank you very much for checking the video if you're watching it on YouTube or TikTok or wherever else. I will at some point put all of these into audio form. I will hopefully do this soon. Start doing this soon. Yeah. Right now, please consider subscribing. Consider sharing the videos. YouTube does not recommend my channel whatsoever, even short clips. Maybe they're not that great. Maybe it is all about me and my delivery. I don't know. I'm doing these recordings essentially live. But if you are at least somewhat interested in this kind of a region, and it's at what's going on with Russia and Ukraine and like I'm saying, this ex-USSR region, and sometimes I cover also news, not today, but I plan to cover a little bit more news about wider world in general, and give sort of my 2 cents about it, because some of it, like I'm saying, are very hypocritical. Some of them are very peculiar, very interesting what's going on. But yeah, please follow the channel, subscribe, comment, and share the videos. I would highly appreciate it. And that's all for today. That was Critical Discussions, episode 25. Thank you very much, and till the next one. Bye bye.